Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the control of pumps. Means this topic is control of pumps, and the next topic is control of compressor. The two devices which are used to transport fluid from one point to another point. Where pump is used to transport liquid from one point to another, where compressor is used to transport the gases from one point to another point. Okay, very simply that one is the purpose. Okay, so the after these two topics you will be able to select pumps and compressor with respect to the process curves. Okay, so what I am planning is, first I want to explain what is happening if a fluid is, or if you are trying to transport fluid from one point to another point. So transporting fluid means a flow rate will be there, and we can't transport fluid without any pressure difference. So what is the variation of flow rate with respect to pressure difference, or reverse, what is happening to the pressure difference if we are changing flow rate? That we want to explain. Then we have to explain the pumps and compressor. Okay, so for control of pumps, I am referring this book, B.G. Lipton, Instrument Engineers Handbook, Process Control and Optimization, Volume 2, 4th edition, CRC Press. So this one is the page numbers that I am referring. Please note, all figures included in these slides are taken from this reference book or this page numbers. Okay. So please note the process. So please note, a pump is a liquid transportation device that must develop enough pressure to overcome the hydrostatic and frictional resistance of the process as it delivers the required flow. Okay, so pump is used to transport liquid by providing sufficient pressure to overcome the hydrostatic and frictional resistance of the process. So that one is the process. So first we have to explain the second part, that is, I told you it is developing enough pressure to overcome the hydrostatic and frictional resistance. So first we have to explain this part, then we have to explain how it is developing enough pressure. Okay, so please note, say this one is a pipeline. Okay, so this one is the input side and this one is the output side. What is happening if you are transporting, so if you are transporting or if you are moving a solid body through the surface, where here we have a friction F, okay, a friction F is there, and if you are transporting this body by applying a force F, where F is the applied force, then definitely the applied force is, as per the D'Alembert's principle, this applied force is opposed by the friction with a factor F into the displacement x, sorry, F into the velocity v. Am I correct? So F is equal to capital F is equal to the applied force, capital F is equal to the friction force F into velocity of that body, where the moment this body is moving with a velocity v. Okay, so now what is happening if you are trying to transport a fluid? If you are trying to transport a fluid, so a fluid is there. So if you are trying to transport this fluid from this end to this end, what is happening? So say this input pressure is P1. At the input side, the P1 is the pressure, and at the output side, P2 is the pressure. P2 is the pressure. Okay. So now, if P1 is equal to P2, if these two pressures are equal, then definitely the fluid will not move. Am I correct? Because there is no force on that fluid. In order to move this fluid or these particles, we need to apply some force. So if P1 and P2 are equal, the applied force on that body or fluid is 0. If P1 is greater than P2, then the differential pressure is positive, then the fluid will start to move. Is it okay? So please note, say this one is the flow rate of fluid Q, okay, and this one is the pressure difference we can call it as dp. Okay, so if it is a horizontal pipe, if this one is a horizontal pipe, then if dp is 0, if p1 minus p2, if it is 0, flow rate is also 0. And with respect to the increase of p1 minus p2, that is dp, flow rate will also linearly increase. Theoretically, what we are expecting? We are expecting a linear increase. Is it okay? So, the or reverse, with respect to the flow rate, the frictional force or the hydraulic loss, that is dp, will also increase. Means we need to apply this much force, means the due to this flow rate, this much friction is there. If you are able to overcome this pressure, overcome this friction by providing more pressure, more input pressure, we can achieve that particular flow rate. In order to achieve this much flow rate, we have to give a pressure difference greater than or equal to this value. Then we can start, or we can transport fluid with this particular flow rate. Is it okay? So now, what is happening? What is the practical curve? In practically, if you are transporting fluid through a horizontal pipe, this one is not a linear curve. We can see a exponential curve like this one. So you can see that dp is proportional to an exponential curve or parabolic curve, something similar to, we can write q raised to 2, very close to q raised to 2. A proportionality constant is there. dp is proportional to q raised to 2. Okay, so please note, if you are transporting liquid from one point to another point, definitely the liquid have a frictional loss, and if you are able to overcome that frictional loss, that flow can be, that flow with that flow rate can be achieved. Okay, so as per this curve. So this one is horizontal curve. So now what is happening? If you have some bend, like some height difference is there, like this one, then definitely, so this one is applied pressure P1, this is P2, the output pressure P2. Okay, so here you can see that this pressure difference has to overcome this static head. The liquid is filled inside this one also. We are transporting liquid from this point to this point, means this much column, this much liquid will provide a head pressure also, static pressure. Okay, so what we need, definitely due to this flow, due to the friction between the fluid and the surface, a dynamic friction is there as shown here. Along with that, we have a static pressure. We have a static pressure, or head is also there, and that head is constant if this height is constant. So if we have a vertical thing like this one, we have an additional one. What is that? The static head. So normally, or in practical situation, what we have is, say this is flow rate and this is pressure difference or frictional loss. We have the static frictional loss. This one is the static frictional loss. Due to this head difference, a static friction loss is there. And due to the friction between the fluid and the surface, or the friction between the one fluid layer and another fluid layer, a dynamic friction is also there, like this way. Okay, so what about the final, the total friction loss or the system friction loss? That is the sum of these two curves. This is static friction, this is dynamic friction. So the system friction loss is the sum of 1 and 2, that is this one. Okay, so this one is the system friction loss 3. Okay, so if you are trying to transport a liquid with a particular flow rate, the system has to overcome the system curve represented by using curve number 3. It will have two parts. Please note that it will have a static part, that is one, that is static head, and second one is the dynamic part 2, that one is due to the friction between the fluid and the surface of the pipe. Is it okay? So please note this curve, this particular one, the curve represented by using 3 is the system curve. Okay, so please note, if you are transporting liquid, definitely we have to overcome the friction offered by the system. It is known as the system head curve. That one is represented by using this line. This one is system head curve. That is actually the sum of the static head. So this one is a static head, okay, plus this one is the dynamic friction loss, the friction between the fluid and the pipe. Is it okay? So please note, this friction loss depending upon number of factors. The main factor is the friction between the fluid and the surface of the pipeline. Second one, it is depending upon the bend, the dimension. If we are changing the pipeline diameter, so the point at which it is changing, all this will change the system head curve. Please note that. Okay, it is also depending upon one more factor. For example, I told you, say this is P1, the input pressure, this is P2, atmospheric pressure. This PT is also an important factor. If you are opening this one to atmosphere, P2 is 0. So definitely this static head is depending upon the pressure difference. So if you have a bend like this one, and if this is P1, so definitely static head is depending upon this P1 only. If you are opening P2 to atmosphere, what is happening if this one is a boiler? If this one is a boiler, then what we have here, we have a boiler pressure. So if you are transporting liquid to a boiler, if you are pumping feed water into a boiler, boiler pressure is also an important factor. At that point, the static head will increase. Means this value will increase if you are transporting feed water, if you are pumping feed water to a boiler. So please note, the system curve depends upon a number of factors. System curve depends upon, is there any static, means is there any head difference inside the pipeline, like this one, it is depending upon that. Okay, it is depending upon the application of that fluid transportation, where we are transporting that fluid, whether we are transporting the liquid to a boiler, etc. If it is boiler, definitely the static head will increase. Okay, then it is depending upon the friction loss also. It is depending upon the friction loss, means it is depending upon the age of that pipeline. If it is too old, then you can see that the friction loss will be more. This part will be more. If the pipeline age, if it is too old, if the pipeline is too old, then you can see this type of curve. Okay, or you can see a steep curve if it is too old. Okay, if it is a new pipeline, then you can see almost flat curve like this one. Okay, so it is depending upon the age of pipeline. Okay, so please note, the system curve will change with respect to a number of factors, like how many bends are there, how many head differences are there, what is the output pressure, whether it is a boiler application or etc. It is depending upon the age of pipeline, etc. Okay, so generally for explanatory purpose, please note, this one is a system curve, this one is a system curve. Okay, so please note, what is the importance of why we are studying about the system curve. If you are transporting the liquid by using a pump has to deliver enough pressure to overcome this loss. The pump has to deliver enough pressure to overcome this much pressure. If you are pumping liquid with this particular flow rate, then the pump has to provide sufficient pressure to overcome this friction loss. Otherwise, we can't pump liquid with this required flow rate. Is it okay? So knowing this system curve is very important. Without knowing the system curve, you can't select, or we can't select the pump. So in order to select the pump, we need to know the system curve. So please note, this friction loss will be more if you are pumping a viscous liquid. Because if you are pumping viscous liquid, the friction due to that viscous liquid is small. So definitely the friction loss will increase. So what we are transporting, that is also very important. Is it okay? Even temperature is also an important one. So here we are assuming that the temperature is constant. Okay. So please note, so we need to know the system curve before selecting the pump. Even we have to know the efficiency, the required efficiency also, that we have to know. Okay. So please note, we have the system curve have two parts. One is this total static head, that is H. It is known as the static or elevation head of the process. This is H. It is known as the static head or elevation head of the process. And it have the friction loss, Ff into q raised to x is the friction loss, where capital Ff is the friction factor of the process. Ff is the friction factor of the process, into q raised to x, where q is the flow rate of that incompressible liquid. This is very important. We are assuming that the fluid is an incompressible fluid. So q is the flow rate of incompressible fluid, and x is the exponent factor that is normally varying between 1.7 to 2. So for analysis purpose or for discussing purpose, for our discussion, we are assuming it as 2. Actually, it is varying from 1.7 to 2. Is it okay? So please note, this H is the total static head. It is total static head. So if the pipeline is like this one, then here we have one static head, here we have another static head, then here we have another static head. Then what is the total static head? The sum of these three static heads. So please note, H is the total static head. Then Ff into q raised to x, that one is the frictional loss or dynamic friction. It is known as frictional loss or dynamic friction. So Ff into q raised to x is the frictional loss, where Ff is the fluid friction and Ff into q raised to x is the frictional loss. So this one is the static head and this one is the frictional loss. Is it okay? So in next slide we can see three different types of system curve. So this is first one. This one is a system curve. If you are transporting liquid through a horizontal line, if you have a horizontal liquid circulation, this one is a system curve. What is the character here? Here you can see that the static friction, the total static friction is 0 or negligible. Okay, it is negligible. It have only dynamic friction. Okay. Now, if you are transporting liquid into a cooling tower, so if this one is a cooling tower, then we have to transport liquid to this side. So this one is the static pressure difference. Am I correct? So definitely it will have a static friction. It is depending upon the location of this cooling tower. Understood? Okay. And one more thing is so here you can see that the system curve is not starting from 0. It is starting from the total static head. This value is the total static head. So if flow rate is 0, then the system curve is exactly equal to the static head. That is why I am saying it is starting from the static head. And here two curves are shown. This dotted line, that one is corresponding to the new pipeline. If the pipeline is new, then the frictional loss will be small. And with respect to age, it will shift to this curve. Means the frictional loss will increase. Means Ff factor will increase with respect to the age of pipeline. Okay. So please note, if age is low, if the pipeline is an old one, then we can see a steep curve. If the pipeline is a new one, then we can see a flat curve. So this is second curve. Okay. Now, if you are transporting liquid to a boiler, then I told you the boiler pressure is very important. We are transporting liquid against that boiler pressure. So the applied pressure must be greater than that boiling pressure. So we have to overcome, definitely we have to overcome the pressure exerted by the boiler, that is boiler pressure, plus the dynamic friction. This one is the dynamic friction. So the system has to overcome the sum of these two. So this one is a system curve So the system has to overcome this system curve. So here you can see that the compared to the static friction, dynamic friction is small. Compared to the static friction, dynamic friction is small. Is it okay? Compared to the static friction, the dynamic friction is small. So this one is the system curve. So now we are going to start the discussion about pump, where pump is used to transport liquid with from one point to another, where the pump has to deliver the liquid with a pressure that is sufficient to overcome this system curve. If you are transporting liquid with this flow, for example, if you are pumping fluid to a boiler with a flow rate this one, then the pump has to provide a sufficient pressure to overcome this system friction. This much friction, this much pressure, at least the pump has to give this much pressure. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so we are going to start the pump. So first one, some assumptions are here. We are transporting liquid from one point to another point by using pump. So the assumptions are, first assumption is the liquid is any incompressible liquid. Okay. So that is first thing. So at all point we are expecting similar changes in flow rate. Okay. So that one is advantage if it is incompressible. And second one is density is constant at constant temperature. We are assuming that the density is constant at constant temperature. So this one is a second assumption. Okay. Now, for different types of pump capacity means pump flow rate. The pump flow rate is affected by 4 different factors. One is we can change the flow rate by using a control valve. In the discharge of pump, at the discharge side, we can include a control valve. So definitely the flow rate will change. It is depending upon the on-off switching. If you are starting or stopping pump, definitely the flow rate will change. By varying the speed of the pump, definitely capacity will change. For example, if it is a reciprocating pump, then with respect to the variation of stroke adjustment, we can change the pump capacity. Okay. So here you can note that except the second one, on-off switching, all other are the throttling controller or continuous controller. Second one is the on-off controller, only zero or full flow. So this one is on-off flow, and remaining 3 are the continuous controllers. Okay. So before going to the, please note, we can classify pumps into 2. One is with respect to the kinetic energy, that is centrifugal pump. One example is centrifugal pump. And second one is with respect to the positive displacement. Positive displacement. Positive displacement. Is it okay? So one example for positive displacement. So one example for kinetic type pump is centrifugal, where changing kinetic energy is used. Centrifugal. Okay, this is best example. For positive displacement, the best example is rotary pump, screw type rotary pump. That one is best example. Screw type rotary pump. That one is a best example for positive displacement. Okay, so in our discussion, we are actually discussing about the control of pump. So we will discuss about 3 different control of pumps widely. Control of centrifugal pump, control of rotary pump, and control of reciprocating pump. Okay, so the first one is centrifugal pump. Okay, so this one is a common type of pump. Normally you can see that, or normally for the transporting liquid, centrifugal pump is used. If you are transporting liquid, especially water or low pressure application. For low pressure application means if the liquid is not that much viscous, centrifugal pump is used. For slurries and etc., we can use centrifugal pump. At that point, we have to use rotary pump or etc. Okay, so this one is the schematic diagram of a centrifugal pump. So this one is a centrifugal pump, and this one is the ISA symbol of centrifugal pump. So this one is a ISA symbol of centrifugal pump. So please note the ISA symbol of centrifugal pump. Okay, so please note this, the centrifugal pump is normally limited to the liquid application where the pressure variation is low, high flow application. Okay, the important characteristics of centrifugal pump is the flow is changing with respect to the change in pressure. Okay, so before discussing about the control of centrifugal pump, we need to know the pump curve. Okay, so please note this one is the, say this one is the centrifugal pump. This one is a centrifugal pump. So it have a part I. So liquid is taken into this pump through I. Then it have impeller. These are impeller. So this impeller is continuously rotating like this way. So what will happen? Actually the liquid is taken, and that liquid is taken into this impeller, this area. So with respect to the rotation, the liquid is pushed into this side. So this one is output side. Okay, means the linear movement of liquid is converted to rotary movement. Okay, so you can see a change in kinetic energy. Okay, so now say this one is a centrifugal pump, that one is connected to a, say this one is connected to a pipeline. This one is connected to a pipeline. So you can see that if the length of pipeline is too large, if the pipeline is too large, then by using the centrifugal pump, we can pump liquid. Means if you are trying to pump liquid, so with respect to this pump, the liquid level will rise. What is happening if the liquid level is increased? If the liquid level is increased, due to that liquid, a head pressure will act on this pump. Am I correct? The pump is exerting some pressure on this liquid to upward, right? And this head is exerting a pressure to downward. So at a particular position, you can see that these two pressure are balanced. These two pressure are balanced. Okay. So what is happening? If the pipe length is too large, you can see that the liquid level is constant. So what about the flow rate? The liquid is not flowing. Means the pump is exerting a large pressure that is not capable to pump the liquid. Is it okay? So if you are drawing a curve, this one is flow rate, this one is the pressure, discharge pressure of pump. So here dP is not differential pressure, discharge pressure. If the liquid head is very large, then the flow rate, the pump is not capable to pump the liquid. So say what is happening if you are decreasing this length of pipeline? if you are decreasing the length of pipeline, at a particular position you can see that it will just start to transport the liquid. The flow rate will just start if you are reducing. Means if the pipeline, if the vertical length of this pipeline, if this elevation is less than a particular point, then you can see that the pressure due to this liquid head is not sufficient to oppose the pressure, discharge pressure exerted by this pump. So at that point, the liquid will start to move. So the point, the discharge pressure, the point at which the liquid is starting to flow, we can start our expression from that point. Okay, so say this one is the point at which the liquid is starting to flow. Means the pipeline is less than this length. So you can see that the liquid will start to flow, means some overflow will occur. That is the indication. If the pipe length is less than or equal to this height, then the liquid will start to overflow. Otherwise, if the pipeline is greater than this particular position, then you can't see any overflow. The pump is not capable to push the liquid beyond a particular limit. So if the pipe length is less than that particular limit, definitely you can see a overflow. Why? The pump is capable to push the liquid because the pipeline length is less than that particular one. So say this one is a starting point. Okay, so please note, if the head is exactly equal to this particular one, the flow is just started, so we can say that one is zero flow. Is it okay? So what is happening if the head is less than this particular, if you are decreasing head, if you are decreasing head, definitely pressure will increase. Am I correct? Pressure, if you are decreasing that head, definitely the flow rate will increase. So theoretically, what you can see is the discharge pressure, or simply head H, is equal to the pressure exerted by the power dissipated by this pump. Okay, so power, okay, divided by rho G and Q. Here efficiency is also an important factor. So you can see that if you are decreasing this head, definitely the flow rate will increase. Okay, practically what we are expecting a linear decrease in discharge pressure with respect to the increase of flow rate. But practically this pump, so if you are considering this pump or etc., several curves are there. So liquid is flowing through that curve, especially right. So if you are transporting liquid, if fluid is moving, at some point you can see the recirculation of liquid layer. The liquid layer may be recirculated. So some energy provided by the pump is used for this recirculation. Okay. Similarly, some corners are there, like this one. So here you can see some corners. So if liquid is flowing like this way through a path, then at some point you can see that this liquid layer may be collided with some corner. So definitely some energy is wasted at this particular point. Is it okay? Means you can see a loss due to recirculation of fluid, you can see the loss of energy due to collision, etc., etc. So practically what we can see is, in some situation, in some pumps you can see this type of curve, in some situation you can see this type of curve, in some pump you can see this type of curves. Okay, so these are the three different curves that you can see. This top one, you can see this one is the dropping curve. In some pump application you can see this type of curve. It is known as the dropping curve. In some pump application, you can see that the curve is flat up to a particular point, then it is decreasing. It is known as a flat curve. And some situation you can see this type of curve where the flow rate is continuously increasing with respect to the degrees of pressure. It is known as normal pump curve. For our remaining discussion, we are considering this normal curve, but generally you can see three different types of pump curves: dropping curve, then flat curve, then normal curve. So three different types of pumps that you can see. Okay. So what is the difference between these three curves? Consider curve 1. Say, at present, this one is the operating point. This one is the operating point. What will happen if the due to some reason, if the flow rate is decreased? What will happen? With respect to the degrees of flow rate, you can see that as per the curve, we can't say whether the pressure will increase or decrease, because with respect to the degrees of with respect to the degrees of flow rate, you can see that the pressure is decreased. With respect to the increase of flow rate also, you can see that the pressure is decreased. What about the pressure application? Say, this one is a current operating point. Due to the increase of pressure, you can see that the flow rate will increase. Am I correct? Due to the increase of pressure, flow rate will increase to the new operating point 2. Okay, say maybe that increase in pressure may be a disturbance or something. So due to some disturbance, pressure is increased, and with respect to the increase of pressure, flow rate is increased. What will happen if that disturbance is reduced? If the duration of disturbance is small, after a very small time, pressure will decrease back to the previous value. Okay, so if the pressure is decreasing back to the previous value, what will happen to the flow rate? Due to disturbance, the operating point is changed to this one, where pressure is increased, and due to that increase in pressure, flow rate is also increased. What will happen if after that disturbance, if pressure is decreasing back to the previous value, what will happen to the flow rate? We can't predict that. Either the flow rate will decrease to this value that is corresponding to operating point 1, or the flow rate may increase to a large value corresponding to operating point 3. Means for the same pressure as per this curve, you can see 2 flow rate. So that one is an unstable situation. We are unable to predict the flow rate with respect to pressure. What will happen if pressure is varying? That we are unable to predict. So that one is an unstable situation. So please note, for curve 1, you can see 2 flow rate. For the same head, we have 2 flow rate. So that one is an unstable situation. So what is the problem? We have to make sure that the system is operating somewhere here. We have to make sure that the system is operating here. Okay, so what about the flat curve? This is flat curve. What is the problem of flat curve? If you are maintain the operating condition here, there is no problem. Due to some reason, if the pressure is increased to something around this value, say something around 65 psi, then what will happen? Initially, the pressure is something around 40. This one is the operating point. Say, initially, this one is the operating condition. Okay, where the pressure is 40 psi, or flow rate is something around 115 gallons per minute. Okay. Now, due to some reason, the pressure is increased to something around 65 psi. What will happen to the flow rate? If pressure is increased to 65 psi, definitely it will follow that curve. So here, this one is 65 psi. So the flow rate will be maybe at any point between these two values, because from this point to this point means corresponding to 65 psi, you can see a flat curve. So here, this one is a flat curve. So flow rate may be any value. We can't predict flow rate. Theoretically, what we can say is, with respect to the increase of pressure, flow rate is suddenly dropped to 0. Theoretically. But practically, you can't predict the value of flow rate. That is happening if you are using flat pump. So normally, for normal applications, we need to use a pump with a normal curve. What is the advantage of normal curve? This is always stable. This is always stable. It is providing a stable flow. Or for all flow, this one is stable. The operating condition is stable. So that one is the advantage of normal curve. Okay. Okay. So I want to say one more thing. The operating point of a pump. So now we are going to consider both system curve and the pump curve. Okay. First, we discussed about the system curve. The system curve is corresponding to the flow of liquid through a system. Pump curve is the characteristics given by the pump. Okay. So say this one is a pump curve. This one is a normal pump curve. So generally we can say this one is a pump curve, or it is also known as pump head capacity curve. Okay. So now this one is a system curve. It have a total static head and a frictional loss is also there. Now initially, if you are starting pump, flow rate is 0, what will happen? So initially the discharge pressure given by the pump is very large, and that discharge pressure is greater than this system frictional loss. Okay, it is greater than the system curve, so definitely flow rate will increase. With respect to the increase of flow rate, you can see that the system friction loss or the system loss is increased, but you can see that the corresponding to the same flow rate, the discharge pressure provided the pump is greater. So again the flow rate will increase. Okay. So what is happening if the flow rate is increased to this point? If the flow rate is increased to this point, you can see that the discharge pressure given by the pump is exactly equal to the friction offered by, or the pressure difference offered by the system. Okay, means the pressure, discharge pressure provided by the pump is exactly sufficient to overcome the system curve provided by the system, the pipeline. Okay, so what is happening? So you can see that the flow rate will not increase beyond this limit. Why? Beyond that operating point, beyond this operating point means the region right to this operating point, or the region right to this point. What is this point? This is a point where the system curve is intersecting with the pump curve, pump head capacity curve. So the region right to this point, so this one is a region, you can see that the discharge pressure of pump is less than the system curve. Means right to this point, you can see that the discharge pressure offered by the pump is not sufficient to overcome the system curve. So what about the flow rate? Flow rate will not increase. Okay, so if you are using this pump curve, For this system curve, for the pipeline or for the transportation with this system curve, the maximum flow rate that we can achieve is this one. So this is known as the operating point. So if you are starting the pump, slowly flow rate will increase. Okay, so you can see that the flow rate will increase up to this point. Beyond that, the flow rate will not increase, because beyond that the system will become unstable. Okay, so if you are using this pump curve corresponding to this system curve, the maximum flow rate achievable is this point. Okay, so that point, the point at which the system curve is intersecting with the pump curve, is known as the operating point. So the question is, can we change the operating point? Can we change the operating point? Definitely we can change the operating point. So in order to change the operating point, either we have to change the system curve or we have to change the pump curve. So please note, in order to change the operating point, either we have to change the system curve or we have to change the pump curve. Why? Changing the operating point means, say here the flow rate is 140 GPM, 140 gallons per minute. I don't want this much flow rate. I want something around 120 gallons per minute. Okay, what we can do? Either we have to change the pump curve. How can we change the pump curve? Please note, the pump curve will change with respect to the speed or rotation of impeller. So please note, by reducing the speed of pump, we can change the pump curve. So this one is the pump curve corresponding to a decreased speed. So with respect to the degrees of speed of rotation of impeller, the pump curve is shifted to downward. So this one is the pump curve, okay, with respect to the degrees of speed. So we can say this is 100% speed, this is 80% speed, this is 70% speed, this is 60% speed. So what is happening? If you are decreasing the speed of rotation of that pump, the intersecting point is changed. Am I correct? Okay, so by changing the speed of rotation, we can change the operating point. This is what we need to change the operating point with respect to different application. So if you want to change the operating point, this is one thing that we can do. The second thing is, we can use the combination of pump. I told you this is one pump. What is happening if you are using two pumps serially? This pump is providing one discharge pressure, this pump is providing another discharge pressure. Am I correct? For the same flow rate, it is providing more discharge pressure. Is it okay? So what is happening? Say, I am taking just pump curve. Say, if you are using only one pump, say this one is the pump curve. If you are using both pumps with the same capacity, say assume that these two pumps have the same capacity. So if you are using two pumps simultaneously, then this is one pump. If you are using second pump, that one is also provide the same discharge pressure. So you can see that the pump curve is shifted to upward. If this one is the discharge pressure corresponding to one pump, then this one is doubled. So you can see that this one is an additional discharge pressure that is exactly equal to this thing. Means this pump curve is shifted to upward. The pump curve is shifted to upward. If you are using two pumps cascadely, means say this is corresponding to a single pump. So if you are using two pumps, then this one will be the pump curve of the combined pumps. If you are using two pumps cascadely, this one will be the curve of combined pump. So what is happening? The operating point is shifted. If you are using three pumps in serial, then again that one is shifted. So you have or you can see that the operating point is again shifted. Is it okay? Please note, if you are using pumps with the same capacity. What is happening if you are using pumps with the different capacity? Say, this is one pump. Okay, this is one pump. Now the capacity of second pump is the 50% of capacity of first pump. Capacity of second pump is the 50% of capacity of first pump. Now somewhere here the effect of pump 2 is negligible. So the reason is, if the capacity of second pump is the 50% of capacity of first pump, then if you are considering the curves of these two pumps separately, this one is the curve of second pump. This is second pump. Is it okay? So if you are adding these two pumps, if you are operating these two pumps separately, here you can simultaneously, here you can see that only first one pump have the effect up to this point. Now from this point you can see that the second pump also have an effect. So from this point the curve is shifted to upward. Okay. So for example, if the second pump have a curve like this one, then from this point up to this point the curve is not changed. From this point the curve is shifted to upward due to the second curve also. Okay, so please note, normally we need to use the pumps with the same capacity, otherwise the shift of curve is you can say symmetric shift in curve, irregular shift that you can see. So this one is cascade operation. Okay, so what about parallel operation? So if you have parallel operation, this is one pump, this is second pump, two pumps are operating parallelly. So this one will provide one flow, this one will provide another flow. So here you can see that the flow rate is a sum of these two things. Okay, so say this one is one pump. If these two have the same capacity, at this point the flow rate provided by two pumps are same. Okay, 0. So there is no shift. If you are increasing the flow rate or if you are decreasing the discharge pressure, you can see that the curve is shifted to right side. Means if this one is a shift at this point, this one is a flow rate corresponding to one pump, the same shift you can see here. These two shifts are same. Means for example, I can use separate figure. Say this is a single car. Say corresponding to this discharge pressure, this one is the flow rate, this value is the flow rate. If you are using this two pumps simultaneously parallelly, two pumps with the same capacity parallelly, so the second pump will also give the same flow rate, right? These two are same. So if you are using these two pumps simultaneously, what is happening? The curve is shifted to right side. Okay, so at each point you can see a shift in pump curve to right side. Okay, so this curve is shifted to right side. Is it okay? So if you are using two pumps parallelly, again you can see that this is corresponding to a single curve, single pump. If you are using two pumps parallelly, you can see that the operating point is shifted to right side or upward. Okay, so depending upon our application, we have to use either two pumps, cascade operation of two pumps, or parallel operation of two pumps, or we have to decrease or we have to change the speed of operation of pump. So in all these situations, what we are doing, we are changing the pump curve. What about the system curve? So here we considered only the friction between the pipeline or the difference P1 or the boiler pressure, etc. If you are using a control valve, what will happen? So if you are using a control valve, definitely a pressure drop will be there between. So here, this one is the input pressure and this one is the output pressure. So P1 minus P2 is definitely proportional to the valve opening. If it is 100% opening, then P1 minus P2 will be small. If it is 100% opening, then say the shift in system curve is something like this one. If it is 100% opening, means this one is the pressure drop due to control valve if it is 100% opening. So this one is corresponding to 100% opening control valve. If you are placing control valve, if control valve is not there, if it is absent, then this one is the system curve. If you are including a control valve, then you can see that the system curve is shifted to upward, and that is corresponding to 100% opening, because the friction offered by the control valve is not constant, it is changing with respect to the valve opening. So what about if the control valve, if you are closing the control valve? If you are closing the control valve, you already studied about the inherent flow characteristics. So if you are closing the control valve, you can see that the input pressure is increased and the output pressure is decreased. So what about the pressure drop across the control valve? The pressure drop across the control valve is increased. Okay, so if you are closing the control valve, then you can see that the system curve is changed like this way. Means this is, I told you, this is corresponding to this is corresponding to 100% opening. Okay. Now, with respect to some throttle condition, valve is almost closed, say 20% opening. This is corresponding to 20% opening. So what is happening? This is the system curve without control valve. This black color is the system curve without control valve. With 30% or 20% open control valve, you can see that the system curve is shifted to upward. Means this one is the pressure drop due to that valve. This is a pressure drop due to 20% valve. If you are including a valve with a 20% opening, this one is the pressure drop. This one is the additional pressure drop. So what is happening? If you are including a valve, definitely it will contribute some more friction, and that friction will increase if you are closing the valve. Okay, so here what is happening? We are not changing the pump curve, we are changing the system curve by including a control valve. So that one is the role of a restricted device. By using a restricted device, the best example is control valve. By using a restricted device, we are changing the system curve, not the pump curve. So depending upon our application, either we have to change the pump curve, normally on-off application, or if we want a throttling application, we need to change the system curve. Okay, so in next class, we are going to discuss about different control of pumps, like on-off level controller, on-off pressure application, on-off flow application, throttling application, etc. That we will discuss in next class. Okay, thank you.